So, I was inspired by a conversation that I had with one of my students. My name is Emma. I am an embodiment facilitator and instructor, and I facilitate specific journeys for women to get out of their heads into their bodies, release emotions, and take up space and move forward powerfully in their lives. I was chatting to one of my students after class, and she said to me, I was so close to not showing up today. I had 1,000,001 reasons to not come. I had voices telling me to stay in bed, to just scroll, to binge eat and lay around and do nothing. Even when I know that class would be good for me, I still had voices telling me not to go. But I'm so glad and relieved that I came because I feel so much lighter. And it's inspired this video today because I really want to normalize those voices of resistance. I have been in the world of emotional healing, the world of belief work, body work, somatics for over 5 years, almost 6 years now. And I can tell you that that voice of resistance is not going anywhere. No matter how many limiting beliefs that you release, you are going to experience voices of resistance. I experience it myself. I see it in my students, and I also see it in somatic experts and coaches that I know. And I really want to normalize, as I said earlier, I want to normalize that voice of resistance because that voice may change over time, but it's still going to interfere at times. And sometimes it convinces you to stay in the shadows, but you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay there at all. And this is what I tell my students. I tell my students that that voice doesn't disappear. It may sound different over time, but it'll show up. And what matters the most is how you respond to it. And that's why in my Radiate program, which is my signature journey for women, this is why one of the first things that we do is diving into resistance. It's one of the first things that we address. I personally think it's one of the most important elements to explore because it comes up in any plan that we have, in any creation that we're bringing to life, any project that we're working on. There's always going to be that voice of resistance. And in Radiate, we explore it in a subtle way. We're doing it through breath, through movement, through music. And my students are always amazed about how they transform resistance because, as I mentioned, it's subtle. It's subtle in class, but then it becomes a ripple effect into their everyday life. They realize they're responding to resistance differently at work and with friends, with communication, with their partners, with themselves, with their procrastination. The way they respond to resistance has transformed. And how has that actually happened? Well, in class, we are focusing on the body. We are teaching the body. We are creating a new pattern of behavior in the body with how to respond to resistance. And when you begin to do that, it dominates the voices of resistance. And sometimes, for people who have been doing belief work for a very long time and they do have voices of resistance coming up, they feel quite frustrated, like, I thought I've worked on this. Why has this come up again? I'm so behind. Nothing works. I'm not growing. And it creates a lot of shame and anger and resentment towards yourself when in fact, resistance is always going to come up. It's how you respond to it. And the best way to respond to it is by creating patterns in the body that know how to respond to it, that knows how to dominate it and not get sucked in by that voice. So instead of stay in bed, you can do this later. What's the point of doing this? You have no energy for this. You begin to naturally create patterns of, I've got this. Let's do it anyway. This is exactly what I need right now. So imagine what your life could look like following this. if you had this in your life, if you had this pattern of responding to resistance in your body. Imagine the plans that you'd go through and follow through on. Imagine the confidence you'd feel knowing that you can navigate resistance with ease, because it's most definitely possible. And I'm going to leave it right there. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and follow me for tools, insights, and practices to navigate resistance, connect with your body, and step into your most radiant self. Sending you lots of love.